This bear attacked and ate Patrick Madeira while he slept in his tent. Are you ready for a spine-chilling story? In today's video, we bring you the harrowing tale of Patrick Madeira, who went on a solo hiking trip to the Great Smoky Mountains and encountered one of the deadliest predators in the region. As the story goes, a vicious bear launched a brutal attack on the 43-year-old man, leaving him at the mercy of the ferocious animal. Here's the nerve-wracking account of Patrick Madeira's terrifying ordeal. In the United States, there are presently 423 national park sites encompassing a vast array of states and landscapes. These parks were established with the intention of preserving wildlife in their native habitats while minimizing the negative impact of human activities on them. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park, situated in Tennessee and North Carolina, is presently the 19th largest protected green area and is the most frequented park in the entire country, drawing in more than 14 million visitors every year. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park is a hiker's paradise, boasting an extensive network of over 800 miles of trails, including the world-famous Appalachian Trail, which beckons visitors from all over the globe with its captivating allure. With a whopping 90% of its terrain blanketed in dense forests, the park is a thriving ecosystem, hosting an impressive variety of nearly 20,000 species, comprising over 9,000 insects and 1,500 types of flowering plants. One of the park's most notable residents is the black bear, with around 1,500 of them thriving under its protective umbrella. While these bears are generally non-threatening and tend to approach humans out of curiosity, Patrick Madeira's experience served as a stark reminder that not all bear encounters are harmless. In 2020, Patrick, a 43-year-old man who was a trained EMT and firefighter and an avid hiker, made the decision to embark on a solo trip to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Being in the prime of his health, he was up for the challenge and looked forward to his adventure. Upon arriving at Campsite 82 on September 8th, he was delighted to find the area relatively deserted, which provided him with the much-needed privacy he sought. The site was located right next to a small creek and on the fringes of a meadow with convenient access to multiple trails, making it nearly impossible for him to lose his way. As he pitched his tent and laid out his sleeping bag, he found himself already mulling over his plans for the weekend. Having long anticipated this trip, he was relishing the chance to disconnect from work and immerse himself in the serenity of the great outdoors. With nothing but the hush of the wilderness enveloping him, he had arranged to stay for a few days, intent on making the most of the network of trails that snaked around him. His campsite lay adjacent to the Hazel Creek Trail, a 25-kilometer trek that entailed navigating a myriad of creek crossings, overgrown paths, and glimpses of various wildlife. Moreover, the trail linked up with numerous other paths, giving him ample opportunity to explore the region over his brief sojourn, particularly since his chosen campsite was relatively secluded. Patrick had been aware that he would be largely left to his own devices, with few rangers or fellow hikers in the vicinity to call upon in the event of any mishaps. This was precisely what he had envisioned when he booked his trip, but little did he know just how much he would come to regret not having others around to assist him. Before we move on to the unexpected attack, I would appreciate it if you give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. Let's move on to the unexpected attack. Based on the coroner's report, it can be inferred that Patrick's untimely demise was a result of a brutal bear attack. While he was asleep in his tent on the night of September 9th, a hungry bear had come across his tent and caught a whiff of food, prompting it to push its head into the entrance and grab Patrick by his legs, pulling him out into the open. As Patrick woke up to the terrifying realization of what was happening, it was already too late, as he found himself face to face with a massive black bear. The bear used its weight to crush Patrick's ribs before unleashing a barrage of bites and scratches on his face and neck. However, Patrick did not go down without a fight, as there were injuries on his hands and legs, indicating that he fought back using his firefighter training to try to survive. Several days had elapsed since Patrick had settled into the campsite on September 11th, when another group of adventurers arrived at campsite 82, eager to embark on their own escapades. Upon arrival, they noticed Patrick's tent flapping ominously in the wind, which struck them as peculiar. Intrigued, the group decided to investigate, and it was then that they made a startling discovery. It is important to note that even when one believes they are entirely secluded and immune to theft, it is always wise to close up one's tent properly, as failure to do so may invite animals to help themselves to your belongings. The golden rule when camping is to always keep your tent zipped up. So why was this particular tent, situated in a remote area of the park, left wide open in broad daylight? As the group of new arrivals approached, they cautiously peered inside, half expecting to find a thief. However, all of Patrick's belongings appeared to be intact, and his sleeping bag lay undisturbed. Upon examining the surrounding area, they observed a patch of flattened grass, which could have been the result of another camper setting up their tent nearby. But as they continued to survey the scene, their attention was drawn to a trail of blood leading away from the tent and towards the creek. Following the trail, they spotted a large bear gorging on something, completely oblivious to their presence. One of the hikers accidentally stepped on a twig, which caught the bear's attention, and it locked eyes with the group. The hikers were afraid that the bear would come closer, but luckily it was already satiated and turned away. Although relieved for the moment, they quickly fled the area, realizing that something was not right with the previous camper. They made their way to a place with a signal to alert the authorities, which took some time due to being in a dead zone. By 7 p.m. that day, the hikers were finally able to speak to a ranger, and they informed them of the situation. The ranger decided to send a team of investigators to the campsite the following day. Upon arriving, the investigators were shocked by what they found. A large male black bear weighing 109 kilograms was feeding on the remains of Patrick Madeira. The body had been so severely mutilated that it was difficult to identify if it was human. The officers, realizing that the bear was no longer afraid of humans and posed an immediate threat to themselves and future campers, had no choice but to shoot and kill the bear. After the bear had been killed, the investigators approached Patrick's body, but it was in such a terrible state that they could not immediately determine the cause of his death. His remains were collected and sent to the coroner's office for further analysis, which would take more than a year to complete. This investigation aimed to shed light on the circumstances surrounding Patrick's death, including the final moments of his life as the bear's victim. The extent of the injuries sustained during the attack was so severe that it took over a year for the investigation to conclude, and the coroner's report to shed light on the final moments of Patrick's life. Patrick's last moments were surely filled with unimaginable fear and pain as the massive bear continued its brutal attack. He must have felt helpless as his body was being torn apart by the powerful animal, his screams likely unheard in the remote wilderness. Despite his training as a firefighter, Patrick would have been no match for the bear's strength and ferocity. The bear's final attack was particularly vicious, as it clamped its jaws down on Patrick's skull, causing further damage to his already battered body. The coroner's report revealed that Patrick had suffered multiple puncture wounds across his entire body, leaving no doubt that he had suffered a horrific and agonizing death at the jaws of the black bear. In the end, the bear emerged victorious in its deadly struggle with Patrick, with the fatal bite to his head finally claiming his life. The bear then dragged Patrick's lifeless body away from the campsite and towards the nearby creek, where it could consume its prey undisturbed and avoid any potential competition from other bears. It is a truly tragic and horrifying end for someone who was simply seeking a peaceful and relaxing getaway in the natural beauty of the wilderness. Attacks by black bears in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park are uncommon, with only 61 reported fatal incidents in the last 120 years. Patrick's death was the second case of a person being killed by a bear in the region's history, the first being Glenda Ann Bradley, a 50-year-old woman whose death made national news as the first person to be fatally attacked by a black bear in the Smokies. In the past, there have been other bear attacks that fortunately didn't result in fatalities. However, due to over 50 bears being euthanized in the area because of malnutrition, there may be an increase in such attacks as the animals become more desperate to find food. To keep their visitors safe, The park authorities have made several statements advising people to be mindful of their surroundings, travel in groups, and learn the correct way to store their food to avoid attracting bears. Prevention is key when it comes to surviving bear encounters. It's important to avoid any contact with these animals and to know how to survive if you do find yourself in a dangerous situation. The bears are simply trying to survive in a constantly shrinking habitat that is failing to provide for them. As a result, they are forced to search for food in areas they would normally avoid, which is why their sightings in residential areas are on the rise. However, as long as people keep their distance, they should be able to avoid the same fate as Patrick Madeira. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned to our YouTube channel for more true stories about bear attacks.